I'd have to figure out how that actually works.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out for next week, and then that'd
Okay.
be a good idea. But hello there, everyone. Welcome back to TapCaf Transmissions, the only Star Wars podcast which has reclaimed both of its hosts for Episode 7 of Ahsoka. I am Corey, joined, as usual, no longer always, by the stereotypical fellow Canadian co-host of TapCaf, Mr. Justin Eckhart's Ladder. How are you doing tonight, Justin?
Good. We were just talking about your infidelity.
Yeah, do we need to
Fight in front of the kids?
Yeah. Well,
No.
I know
No.
you were sitting there just watching the podcast with me talking to Alex and Molly, just fuming the whole time, much like Mark was. But
I've never watched a podcast in my life or listened, so.
well, that's fine. I didn't think you actually listened. I know you don't care what I do, other than being like angry if I'm doing it with someone else.
Yeah, I have got like a sense of ownership, but like beyond that, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I did talk about Episode 7 of Ahsoka with Star Wars Explained last night on the show Between Shows, so I'm going to try to not repeat too much of what I said, and instead we'll just focus on what you thought. Because we're kind of catching up on. I know you like to focus on what you. That's
a really good podcast name, by the way. The show Between Shows.
Yeah, they get a new one every series, and it's always at least half decent.
I just like how you talk about Star Wars Explained like it's a metaphysical entity. Like I communed with Star Wars Explained.
Well, am I just supposed to say Alex and Molly all the time? Because did you know the which episode was it of The Simpsons? I think it was when Homer goes and does the missionary stuff, and all the people are talking about the former missionaries, Craig and Amy.
Mm-hmm.
And just if I keep saying Alex and Molly, it gives me too much of a Craig and Amy vibe there.
I've like twice in the past week tried to make reference there have been two situations where like I've been talking to another parent and a kid will just exaggerate something and I'll be like, oh yeah, it's that scene from The Simpsons where they catch Principal Skinner and Miss Krabappel or whatever her name is making out in the room, and then it evolves and it's like Ralph's like, I saw the baby's head poking out. Nobody understands the reference. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah.
Don't
they? Isn't that where Purple Monkey Dishwasher comes from? Or did that come from something else?
I can't remember, to be honest. I'm not sure.
We'll have to put some people onto that. But we do have some Star Wars news before getting into the episodes. First off, the writer's strike portion of the strikes they've at least reached a deal there. There's still the SAG part to go on, and now SAG is also. There's a strike against some of the video game companies. It's not quite as broad as the production companies for TV and movies, but that's only because
I feel like they haven't authorized the full strike yet, have they? Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I don't think it's actually happening yet. They've just said that they can if they want. I'm not 100% sure where it stands right now, but I don't have any reason to believe it won't go that direction at this point.
Yeah.
But so that's good news. Second, less good news is that...
Are you going to bring the KOTOR stuff up?
I am going to bring up the KOTOR stuff.
Okay.
The PlayStation
I'm editing a video
side,
on that right now.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure which of us would get there first tonight. I figured
you... continue though.
Give you that extra time to edit. But
no. I'm doing a real lazy job on it.
Well, the original upload of the PlayStation side of the KOTOR remake trailer that was posted is now gone, and all of the PlayStation tweets are gone, which means either they want to bury it under the rug and no one ever talks about it again, or they may have lost exclusivity for some reason because Embracer buys and sells a different company every minute, and I think it might have accidentally sold itself to Microsoft or something. Who knows? Like, it's Embracer's
the weird thing is though, Sony
mess.
was the publisher, so it's like, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. Like I'm leaning a lot more, given the Bloomberg, I know a lot of people don't like Jason Schreier. I find him really fucking annoying, but I think he's generally right about almost everything. He said last year the game was basically dead. And I think it was Embracer who said, no, it's totally fine. And I think it's dead.
Well, the Embracer, I don't think Embracer ever said anything about it so much as it was on the list of games that were still in production. And then there was like the investor earnings call where someone asked about it and they're like, "Oh, my favorite
It was a
question."
YouTuber, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was
Wasn't it
100%
100%
Star
Star Wars?
Wars.
Yeah.
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 Which is like, if you're an investor in a company and they're like, "How the fuck dare you ask about a thing we're supposedly making?" Like, that's not. I mean, I don't like investments as a concept, but I think that's a little bit fucky to begin with.
Yeah, I just feel like if they were working, like, just say yes if you are working on it.
Yeah.
Like it's going to sell like a bajillion copies. Like,
Mm.
I think some people, I mean, maybe I'm wrong and it's not as popular or it's not as big of a deal as I'm arguing it is, but I think it is. Like, I think the original game was, it was a big, not just Star Wars game, but a big RPG game. The landscape has changed. There's a new big RPG out every week. But yeah, I just, I don't know, man.
I mean, any kind of adaptation of it would do well. Like that kind of open world game does really well, especially if they retool combat to be good, and not just be like the Dungeons and Dragons system. But like there were other companies that were pitching it at the time too, including people who had worked on the originals. So hopefully someone else will pick it up. But now it's just been
Yeah.
held by Embracer for like 3 extra years now that have pushed back any production on that being possible. Like maybe something from it will slip through and it'll go to a different company under Embracer and they aren't just like all entirely on fire now. But I don't have much hope.
Me neither. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. So that stinks.
To think we were supposed to be playing it 10 months ago.
It's just, it feels like it's, I mean, we talked about this when it was first announced that it was like the worst kept secret in gaming. But now it's like the opposite. So great.
Oh well.
Mm-hmm.
What are we gonna do? I think
Mm.
Outlaws is coming. It looks like a real game. That's something.
Yep. Thank God
And
they.
Ahsoka skins in Fortnite.
Yep. That's all. That's the only thing keeping me going from the gaming side right now.
Yeah. Like all these shows. I tweeted a joke of a couple weeks ago, like the year is 2023. Star Wars Squadrons 2023 Ahsoka season just released the E-wing and the, I forget, I don't know what they're called, Shin's fighter
Yeah.
as their new content. The world is at peace. There were people who I didn't mean to mislead people with it, but there were some people that were like booting up the game wondering where the content was after I said that, but it was just supposed to mean I was sad that it wasn't happening. So I do want to take this opportunity to apologize for anyone who was hurt by my actions. Uh,
Yeah, I
I,
tagged you in that tweet.
yeah,
Also, speaking of tweets, I thought my tweet about fucking Chopper in the Canadian Parliament was hilarious.
yeah, that was pretty good.
But any other news you want to go on before we talk about the episode?
I think that's it.
Okay. So we also missed episode 6,
Yeah.
which I really loved. It's a shame we missed that one. I had a wedding to prepare for.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was honored to attend the wedding. But yeah, episode 6 I really liked. I probably my like second favorite, maybe third. Episode 7 may have been I didn't hate it, but it might have been my least favorite of the series so far.
Well, yeah, I guess we haven't even talked about Ezra or Thrawn there either. I kind of agree with you where like I liked episode 7, but I feel like we didn't learn anything about like even character motivations. We had things
No.
confirmed that were like kind of obvious, and we got to see some more of Ezra. We got to see a bit more of Thrawn. But aside from like having the hint of a reaction uh from Thrawn at the mention of Anakin's name and having
Yeah.
like the split between Balin and Shin, like a lot of what would happen there was kind of fulfilling things we knew were coming, which was all fine, but like I still have a lot of the same questions coming out of it as I did going in.
It was just like a very Kenobi episode, is how I would describe it.
Mhm.
Where like it really felt let down also by just how it was filmed. Like I posted this on Twitter. So much of the episode was people scampering to and from places. Like, Ahsoka scampers into the fight, and then Shin scampers away, and they kind of just watch her go. And it's always like, it's you, we talked about this, I think, when Kenobi came out as well. It's like when a show is just being driven, or an episode is just being driven by people moving place to place, it starts to become a bit of an issue. And like that's what I like. Why did Ahsoka and Balin run into each other? It's like because she was there, really, because he was there. Maybe there is something more deep to it, but it was just like she jumps out of the starfighter, and on this full sized planet, fucking Balin's right there on the rocks.
Well,
Like,
she saw him, and that's why she jumped there.
oh, okay, I didn't realize that, but still.
Yeah, because she timed her thing with Hu Yang, and then she landed there.
I thought she was
And
just timing it to land softly, but
like
anyway.
it was, she was trying to get to Ezra and Sabine. So I don't know why, like especially because like her goal with Balin was just to like run away. But I don't know why she ended up feeling the need to do it that specific way, unless Balin like positioned himself to catch her. But like I think one of the useful parts of that scene was kind of showing that like Balin didn't put his whole heart into stopping her. He was kind of
Mhm.
okay with it. Like I don't think
Mhm.
he thinks that Balin, or he thinks that Ahsoka is going to kill Shin. Like I think he thinks Shin was going to be okay with that. Like the whole thing is letting her make her own choices and the consequences of that come along with it. But I feel like if he thought Ahsoka was going to just go and cut Shin's head off, he probably would have had a slightly more negative reaction.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I agree with that. He's off doing his own thing, and I mean, we don't really know what it is. So
Mm-hmm.
we may hopefully find out next episode. I thought for a second that when he got strafed by the fighter, he was going to come up with an injured face, and that was how we were going to get him back next season with a mask on.
So just like in post, they mess up Ray Stevenson's face for the rest of the season, and
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure, but I thought that was definitely a potential.
yeah, like I was saying, I was pretty confident going into the season that like Balin would be the villain to beat for the season, and then Thrawn becomes the overarching villain. But I'm kind of pulling away from that. Now I'm more just worried that we're not going to get too far into what Balin's doing, and that just becomes a hanging thread that may or may not ever be addressed.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I guess we'll see. Let's start from the beginning though. So like even the C3PO stuff, I like that they included 3PO. I thought that was fun. But like even just the whole way that scene was filmed was just like a little dorky,
mhm.
or goofy, I
Well,
guess.
before we get to into this, because we didn't talk about the prior episode, uh, so I guess we haven't talked about Thrawn and Ezra on the podcast at all yet.
No, I guess not.
So, just before we get into that too much, any quick thoughts on the Ezra and Thrawn portrayal overall? We can get into like the specifics from this episode,
Mm.
but like
No, no,
your
no. I thought Ezra's pretty much. I think Ezra's the best casting. I think he's pretty much perfect.
Mhm.
Um, Again, they got the contacts in from my boy. I put a tweet out about like how Dave's just got to be regretting making everyone have bright blue eyes and like purple hair and shit when it comes to casting for the show. But I thought he's been perfect. I thought more than his appearance, they really nailed the mannerisms, which I think is why the scenes of him and Sabine work so well. Because
Mhm.
like when you move a character to live action, I think you've got to move away from it feeling like an imitation of a character to the character sort of taking on a life of their own. And I think that's happened. So, and it's happening more with Sabine. Like Sabine feels like kind of a new chapter in the character, which is great. I think that we're going to see more of that from all the other characters as well. But I thought they were great. Thrawn I thought was good. The other thing I was like, would Thrawn be the type of dude to have his undead soldiers chanting his name? Maybe not, but they're also probably they've gone whack.
Yeah, and they're not even undead, so
You don't think?
Well, that kind of like they didn't explode the way that Merrick did in episode 7, so
I'm
I
pretty
feel
sure one had like a piece of ribbon coming out of his eye hole in episode 7.
that'd be worth checking
Like
out.
I think he had no visor. I could be wrong with that, but I remember seeing that.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe they're not. Well, whatever they are, something like they're definitely not normal. So
Yeah.
I was like, Thrawn, he likes loyalty from his like both canon and legends has been about him. Part of the reason why he's so effective is because he's a fair leader. He gets everything out of his crew. I don't know if he'd have them chanting his name, but I loved the
They do that on
first.
their own.
Yeah,
It's
that's
more
fair.
Enoch leads that. It was actually Thrawn's birthday, and it all just lined up really well.
Yeah, Enoch's a freak. I really like the Chimera's entrance though. Another funny little. I thought you were going to be right where you said Sabine is going to use the Force to get out of her hand. Fuck off, fly. Use the Force to get out of her handcuffs. And then I was like, oh, maybe she'll get the door. And then with she thinks she's doing something, but it's just the Chimera coming. I thought
They
that was
keep doing the
awesome.
fake outs.
Yeah. Which makes it more and more obvious that eventually she's going to succeed.
Do you count the Force response to Ahsoka in that category?
No, I think that like that's the kind of thing where I feel like any person who's got like an empathetic connection with a Jedi could probably
like we've seen
get
kind
there.
of that with Hera and Kanan before as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like and another example, obviously in hindsight doesn't work so much, but Leia and Luke. When that happened, Leia wasn't Force sensitive. Because she wasn't his sister yet, and like George didn't know that was going to happen. So, yeah, no, I thought that was fine. No, I actually quite like that. Actually, I think that's a very good way to, have her Jedi powers show up a little bit.
No, sorry, I was just pointing out in chat. I meant Hera and Kanan.
So yeah, Canon Jared, yeah, in the Chimera,
the Crimea.
The Crimea. Yeah.
All right. Well, we can move on, I guess, to what you were starting to talk about with the
Thrawn. Though I like Thrawn.
Oh, sure.
He people are making fun of him for being a little fat. Like I noticed it too, but he's 70 at this point. Like Thrawn is never like, I don't think they talk about his body once in the original trilogy.
Well, they don't actually mention Thrawn very often in the original trilogy.
The original book trilogy, you fuck. So
I think that's called the Bible.
Okay. The original book trilogy featuring the Blue Man.
No, they wrote books before the book.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think part of it is just the fact I think he's supposed to look kind of worn down as well. Like his suit's all fucked up. So yeah, I thought he looked great. I wasn't expect his voice really added a lot. Like his voice, it really his opening scene was like where he nails the first quote. I was like, yep, it works.
It was a bit hard to get used to just the appearance, because I think like putting anyone in like Blue Man Group clothes with the red eyes, it's gonna look a bit
He's
odd
a Star
for
Trek
anyone.
villain.
Yeah, he looks like, especially with Lars looking like Data. He kind of looks like Blue Data, but the voice just sells it so well. Like the demeanor, I think, is perfect for Thrawn.
Yeah. Another thing I really liked about episode 6 that episode 7 didn't like. I thought episode 6 did a really good job of making Peridia feel very strange. Like you come in, like one thing I really like is how there's like this discordant music right before the Chimera shows up. Like you do kind of get the idea that like something's been a bit warped, by all the time there. Like things aren't quite right with the crew, which I thought was a really cool idea. I mean, even the first shot, I actually love the beginning of episode 6 when they go over the planet. First, they go through the whale skeletons. There's just these weird like spires coming in, like these statues coming out of the ground, and they're very strangely proportioned. It's all a little creepy. And then there's throughout the episode, there's actually a few other shots where if you look in the background, it looks like you can see faces. And I thought I was just seeing things in the rock formation, but it's actually like collapsed statues, which is a creepy touch.
Maybe if the Night
And
Sisters spent more time doing things other than building gigantic statues of themselves, they wouldn't have this problem.
exactly, yeah. So I thought episode 7 was missing a bit of that weirdness, which I would have liked to see back.
Well, it's trying to show you Peridia from Shin's perspective, where it's just a wasteland of witches.
Yeah. But like that's something that I think the show's been kind of inconsistent about, where some episodes have done a really amazing job of setting like tone. Episode 4, the one that I really liked, with the first duel, I think it was episode 4, the first duel between Ahsoka and Balin. That one I thought did a really good job of making the planet they were on there, Cetos, feel like, it's like a mystical grove, medieval fantasy setting, where I thought it really nailed that through like the filming and the colors and the fight in the dark forest. Whereas the next episode, not quite as much.
Yeah.
And but that kind of had other things to do as well. I thought episode 6 did a lot better job with the setting than episode 7 did.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I didn't hate the episode though. For one, if this is the worst episode of the season, it's the show that has the best worst episode,
right?
In my opinion.
Yeah, like I don't think there's any episodes here that you'd even kind of consider skipping on a rewatch.
No,
like, if there is, it's episode 3. But even then, there's a lot going on there that's not skippable. Where I think almost every other Star Wars show has 1 or 2 episodes where you kind of don't need to see them to follow the story going on.
Totally. Like Mando season 1 there were like 3 episodes like that.
Yeah. Well, it was a lot less. Like Ahsoka is a lot more about telling one story rather than more the serial adventure of the week kind of Mando style.
Oh, totally agree. And I actually really like that format for that show. But yeah.
But we get into episode 7, and the first scene proves one of my predictions right for the wrong reasons. When sure, there's other stuff that goes on, but we have Admiral Akbar sitting in a chair between Xiono and Mon Mothma, and I think other stuff does happen in the scene. I didn't notice any of it, but
really, man, I never in my fucking life scanned a room for a furry quicker than that. I was looking for my boy Borskvalia so fucking quickly. Like I scanned literally every fucking sender on the back bench there, looking for that furry asshole. I definitely thought,
phrasing.
Yeah, phrasing. I definitely thought they were gonna have Akbar do his role in the Thrawn trilogy. I thought he might stand up to Xiono when I saw him so prominent.
I didn't even notice he was there at first. Like I was talking to Alex and Molly last night, and like I was saying I was expecting an Akbar cameo, and they're like, "Oh, you mean another one?" Oh shit! But yeah. I was too drawn in by Xiono being just an asshole, not a furry asshole, but
just a really big asshole. He just sucks.
Well, like he knows that Hera was literally just with Ahsoka, who didn't come back with her. And he's like, okay, you're telling these stories of Jedi and space whales and things that we know exist in this world, and it's like, fuck, man.
Literally, the way Thrawn disappeared publicly.
Yeah. Oh, I think one of us is frozen.
Oh,
you good? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I was saying, I don't even know if this should be a retcon because I haven't watched Resistance, but I do kind of wonder whether he might be officially made like a double agent at some point.
I don't know. I prefer keeping him as someone who just sucks within the New Republic, because I feel like it's a better message that they have to get across somewhere, that like they don't have to be a direct enemy combatant to just like be a terrible person who is obstructionist. Like sometimes that opposition is just shitty for its own ends rather than being like a direct plant.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
And I think that's
just,
one of the
things
really that works about Borsk. where you might suspect that he is,
Mhm.
but it turns out like no, he just sucks because all he cares about is himself, and then he blows up.
Yeah, he just really hasn't had much nuance yet, which I guess I'd like to see. But yeah,
Like there's a way to make his character seem more reasonable, but it's not just being such a clear denialist of shit that's like right in his face.
exactly.
And I think that is where it kind of falls apart as an oppositional force. It's just like
Right.
you.
Because in the sorry,
Well, it's kind of like the Marvel villain issue, where a lot of them have goals that kind of make sense, but then it's just because they're gross and go about it the wrong way that it just kind of like
Mhm.
throws out anything reasonable they're saying. Not using the example of Thanos because his goal is fucking stupid. You don't.
Yeah,
No
dude could
one's
have
helped
wished
by
for
it.
unlimited energy.
Yeah,
Dumbass.
you just make twice the planets, not half the people.
Yeah. It's like the one thing about like the Thrawn trilogy is with how it handles Borskophilia is he takes L's, and like when he's proven wrong, he's got to go like sit in the quiet corner for a book and a half.
Yeah, like
Like after the Dark Fleet stuff.
yeah, where he's trying to poke his furry little nose into command that he doesn't
He
belong
forget he
in.
forgets to hit end stream and
But yeah, like
yeah.
there, it's one of the better parts of the Thrawn trilogy. With that, is that like you get the sense of like the New Republic military as this thing that Borsk wants to control because he sees it as a status symbol,
Yeah.
less than he thinks he's competent enough to actually handle it. And then you get a lot of his appointees that are just kind of shit at their job, and they're clearly only there because he's trying to get them into those positions of power because they support him, not because they're actually competent.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Agree.
But, yeah. So what did you think of 3PO?
Thought he was good. Like again, it was kind of one thing I thought was funny is like this is the first time we've seen 3PO in a while. So like Mon Mothma is like 3PO. She's like very reverent towards him, and like she probably sees that dude fucking every day and has to deal with like his anxiety and shit. Like she probably sees Leia all the time, so like she'd see 3PO all the time. It's just yeah. He probably
Yeah.
really enjoyed it though.
Yeah, she's the Minister of Defense apparently, and now, right? So with her being the Chancellor, that's like a meeting she has every day at 2. She
Yeah.
couldn't make it to this meeting. She had to send 3PO, which I think in universe, I think that's a great like I think that really works is like just shit on Shiono as much as possible. I don't even need to be here for this. I'm sending what you were calling just a droid to do this. And the
Mhm.
fact that it is 3PO as that droid is what makes it really funny. But it also, to me, has the feeling of like, yeah, you're doing this because you want to avoid having to recast Leia as long as possible.
Yeah. That's the next guy's problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I again, it was like it was a cheesy scene where it was like, you know, it, when you compare it to like the political maneuvering of Andor,
Yeah.
it's like actually everything is epic. and Mon Mothma smacks the gavel. She's like, "It is epic," and then it ends. And then she goes up to Hera and she goes, "I know it secretly wasn't that epic," and it's like, but
Tell me, how epic isn't it?
it's considerably not so.
Is Thrawn as blue as they say?
He's bluer. I'm sad to say. Actually, he's less blue than you might think. Like he could be darker blue.
Well, he's kind of worn down over the 10 years.
Yeah.
But from
Well,
there,
he's rebels blue, and you know.
from Hera's getting off scot-free moment, which they let Carson just be in the witness for, I guess. I don't know. It was he's
He's just
involved in this.
vibing.
It's unclear what his role there is other than letting 3PO into the room. But I don't know. It feels like maybe they should have had a bailiff for that instead of a witness slash co-defendant. But you're the lawyer. You would know better about the procedure for this than I.
It's an administrative hearing. They're pretty informal.
Okay. So they you are allowed to get the door when you're in this situation?
That it was the type of law that I practiced, and yeah, you could. There was a whole provision about who could get the door. It's got to be, yeah, only
There's a lore
Canadian
video.
X-wing pilots.
Will he ever be allowed to retire? Like, I want him to get a show or a movie or something, and he's like, is the average New Republic pilot approaching 60?
I don't think he's that old, is he?
I think he's 50.
Yeah. I mean, he'll probably get moved out of a cockpit at some point, but the thing is, he can like pass for 40s, I think. But we did get some helpful information about the timing of the show now, so those questions are gone.
Yeah. We do have the confirmation that this is after The Mandalorian, because they have the business on Mandalore that they're talking about.
Mm-hmm. So, my theory about him dying completely gone out the window, obviously.
Unless he was brought back by Night Sister Magic.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It happened to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of Night Sister Magic, we get back to Peridia after this. I think Sabine and Ezra are the easiest to talk about now. Because like they go from point A to point B, which is not really a point B. They just like go through one field. But it is nice to see them kind of back together. And they have the chase scene with the Warg Riders. We get some Two Towers energy going. And Ezra, when they get into the fight with Shin and her minions, her Shinians, if you will, Ezra refuses the lightsaber, and he's going with his monk multi-classing and to keep in the D&D terms.
Yeah, that was fun. He's definitely felt the Dave's love of Avatar, Last Airbender, and his work on the Avatar there. Yeah, that was cool. I'm curious. I think he obviously will get a lightsaber back at some point. I'm kind of curious to see how he does with it. But it was pretty cool because at first it looks like he's just using like martial arts, but then you see he's not actually hitting him. He's like Luke in Return of the Jedi to that random guard.
The infamous kick.
Yeah, exactly.
The force kick / maybe messed up stunt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, until he grabs the blaster and then like just starts shooting everyone.
Yeah. Also, he must have been the one to give those guys slingshot technology, right?
Yeah, like I think Ezra in this galaxy is the inventor of the slingshot.
Yeah,
that's classic Ezra.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. They released that clip a bit early. Like they released that before the episode came out. The clip of them like in the chase, and
haven't they done like the 1 minute clip the day of release or the day before release the whole time of a few things?
I remember them doing it for the fight between Hu Yang and that assassin droid, but I don't really remember anything else.
Yeah, I think it's usually a pretty innocuous scene per episode, so I don't know that they.
That's fair. That's fair.
I don't think any of them have really given all that much away. But I've seen a lot of people very angry about the fact that Ezra turned down the lightsaber. Like he gave it to her. She's the one that's trained with it most recently. Like he trusts her. There's no reason for him to not trust her with it.
She's barely surviving each fight she's in. Like,
well, he also hasn't used one in 10 years. This is how he's been fighting against these people for a long time. This is what he's comfortable with. Like, this is just who he is now, and people need to accept that.
Yep. Yeah, that's true.
I do think he will make one, but I don't think it needs to be his primary. Like, when everyone can have a different way to fight, that makes it cooler. So it's not just interchangeable people smashing lightsabers at each other.
Yeah, I think he'll do the Luke thing where he kind of has made one between seasons, or
well, the T6 has a wall of them. There's like 30 that are sitting there.
That's true. This does still feel very much like I was just thinking, this is all, if we were reading the Thrawn trilogy, this is all stuff that kind of happens before page 1. Really. I mean, to a degree, like some of it is like you can say him getting those guys is kind of like the new you stop at Mount Tantus, but yeah.
Yeah. We'll see
so I'm curious to see
information rate happens.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see whether the next time we see these characters is in a new season of something, or a movie.
Yeah, like
Because you can't finish this all in one movie and do it just. I don't think.
yeah, like how does it become if it's gonna be like Mando season 4 big focus? How does it become Din's problem or
Right.
Bo-Katan's? Like, I could see it more becoming Grogu's problem somehow,
Hmm.
but like it feels like it'd be a bit more of a stretch to get them involved, and it just feels like centering it around Din or Grogu, or even just calling it the Mandalorian when it's about
Yeah.
non like entirely non-Mandalorian stuff or stuff where Din is one of many characters involved. It seems like it should be some new take on whatever the Rangers was going to be.
Hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, we know he's been kind of pulled in by the New Republic for some duty. So I guess that's how he'll figure into things.
Yeah, and yeah, if the show does get a season 2, then that would obviously be a good place to continue it. But I really don't know if that's the intent here.
I hope it is. Like I'd like to get one season of Thrawn kind of back before we jump into the big movie. Like I don't know. I think by the movie you could still have an entry point for fans, while also kind of having previous conflicts in
Mhm.
the show. I think that would maybe be the way to do it, but I guess we'll see.
Maybe even just Ron season 1,
Hmm.
then
That'd be
Ezra season
interesting.
1, then Sabine season 1, and then the movie.
I hope they move past the naming conventions.
I really don't care about them that much.
I'm just tired of hearing people like I posted about like how would you feel about an episode before episode 6 came out. I was like, what if episode 6 was just, Hera getting the Rebels crew back together and stuff in the New Republic, and everyone was like, I'd be really pissed because the show's called Ahsoka. It's like, I guess, but
I
what
think
is it?
Star Wars fans, a lot of them just don't understand that, like, sometimes shows go slightly outside of what the title might imply as the entire focus of the show.
Yeah,
Like the complaint about like, oh, the show's called Kenobi, but Reva's in it sometimes. Like,
it
do
do be
you not
like that.
understand how like A and B plots in shows have always worked?
Yeah,
That's it. Yeah. Clearly, there was other motivations behind those complaints, but
yeah, yeah. Like the issue with the Book of Boba Fett wasn't that Mando was in it, or even that Boba Fett wasn't in episodes. It was that those episodes derailed a lot of the plot.
yeah, they
Like
weren't
if
involved in what was going on, and then we didn't know
right.
what happened with Boba until later on.
Yeah, you could have a Mando episode, just like, you know, make it mean something.
Yeah. Like the stuff that was going on in the other shows, like the stuff that's going on with Hera relates to Ahsoka's situation. The stuff that was going on with Reva related to Obi-Wan's situation because Reva and the Inquisitors were the villains there. Like that
Hmm.
was part of the overall story, rather than Din's part in Book of Boba Fett being reversing the reversal of
Yeah.
how Grogu was revolved at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. Any other thoughts you had about the episode? I mean, I know you kind of covered a lot of it in the podcast, but what's your kind of general thoughts?
uh I mean it definitely felt a lot like setup for the finale, and I do hope that all of the threads can be in some way resolved in the season. Like I think getting back to the known galaxy is kind of the big outlying plot line, because there's like whatever Balin's doing. I don't know if an episode like is following Balin for an episode to figure out what he's doing and why he's doing it. Is that going to feel like it's going to be able to be resolved? Like I don't see Ahsoka
Mm.
and that crew following Balin now unless they think like whatever Balin's doing can get them back to the galaxy. Like Thrawn getting home, that's another part of it. So is it just the return home that is the resolution of the show?
I don't think everyone's making it back. I don't think Ahsoka's making it home. I think she's going to follow Balin.
Okay, so like Ezra and Sabine get home, Ahsoka stays, and her and Balin, Ezra, Sabine, and Shin maybe go, and
Yeah.
Ahsoka and Balin stay. I can see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I'm not sure how they get back. I guess they sneak on Thrawn's ship or something. Um, But yeah, because you can't just jump back normally. I don't think they're going to take another whale, so that's kind of
Yeah,
one thing I've been wondering.
the whales got scared away by the minefield. As much as
Oh yeah, right.
I
They're
I
gone.
don't
Yeah,
I don't think Thrawn should have done that. Wasn't very epic. That does wrap up the question of like, oh, are they just going to jump in a whale's mouth again? I don't think those whales are coming back for a while.
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't.
No, they're pissed.
They have every right to be. That's their field, and now all mine.
Fucking whales, man.
So one of the theories that's gotten a lot of airtime since we started seeing at least some crumbs of what Balin's after is that it could be a reference to Abeloth breaking the cycle. But I mean, what
Well,
do you think?
for one, that's not what Abeloth does.
No, Abeloth
Like,
is the cycle.
yeah, it's the exact opposite of what she does. Um,
Well, I
not
guess the
that,
cycle is like she breaks out and you got to stop her again. So if you like fully unleash her, that would have broken the legend
but the
cycle.
whole thing is that like she breaks out when war like gets like after there's enough war. I'm trying to think. I can't remember which exact novel it is. The Killick kind of explain it.
Yeah,
Now we don't know for sure whether they're right, but they say, listen, like she feeds off of like death and destruction, and then eventually she gets powerful enough and she breaks out, and then kind of that's what I remember anyway. Then the whole thing kind of happens again. Um, the thing about Abeloth is she wasn't even really like super well received among Legends fans,
yeah.
so I don't think they're gonna have Abeloth wholesale in. They could have like some sort of Lovecraftian entity like Abeloth, I think. Um, I was gonna say your kind of theory about the ricotta kind of makes a bit more sense as one option. Um,
Yeah, it seems like if it goes in that direction, it would be the Zepho that take their place, even though we do have the canon Ricotta mention, because we do like there's the Urkitat writing on the Night Sister Temple about Kujet. So
very creepy name.
yeah, but I guess we haven't talked about that. So like there is writing on the temple that you can see when Balin and Shin ride out on their little color coordinated wargs that says "All praise Kujet," which is one of the Zepho tombs that you raid on Dathomir in Fallen Order. So probably just an Easter egg, but if they are going to go for like a Forerunner species being involved in some way, it does seem like it would be the Zepho over the Rakatans.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And we did see that what may have been a Zepho monster in Bad Batch as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and then Balin had the names of some of the OT characters on his wrist, which I'm pretty sure was just a little Easter egg to give him something.
Yeah. So
Some
you write
detailing.
something somewhere. Like
Yeah,
my favorite bounty hunter be introduced.
yeah.
But what have you thought of Thrawn in the command room so far? Do you agree with the counter encirclement as an S tier strategy in that situation?
I mean, he's luring them into a Jedi trap, right? Where is it Plagueis that talks about the Jedi trap, I believe, where it's like once they've sprung the Jedi trap, it doesn't matter whether they've won or lost because they're doing what you want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he really cares whether. Well, I mean, I think obviously he cares about whether he kills them or not, but to him, he recognizes that for one, he planned on Balin being there, and
Yeah.
if Balin had have been there, they probably would have been successful because they would have been killed before Ahsoka could show up. Um, and also, like he said, he's like the only thing that they can't afford to give up is time, and that's what they are giving up.
Yeah.
Um,
Like,
so kind of a well done Jedi trap.
what do you think Shin stands with that? Because like Balin saying, "Oh, well, you want to be part of like go take your place in the new empire," but like Thrawn would clearly prefer the Dark Jedi, or sorry, I apologize for using that name. For the for the not epic Jedi, he doesn't want them around. Like, is Shin gonna realize that this is a thing where she's not really wanted either? Because she seemed so excited when Balin was describing the Bakken Jedi, and
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh, like me," but no, you're
She does,
supposed to be
yeah.
something more.
She obviously doesn't quite know what she is.
Yeah.
Like she probably thinks she's doing the right thing. Because you're right, she like immediately identifies with the idea of being a Jedi, and she just obviously isn't. Um, I don't know. Like at some points, it feels like Balin has kind of been winning Thrawn over. Like he brings Sabine, and it's his idea, and it's kind of. I think the thing really is that they're variables
Mm-hmm.
where like the mothers, the great mothers, have kind of seen a lot of this, but they only see bits and pieces, and if they can't account for something, then you never know. So I think that's kind of his big issue with them right
Yeah.
now.
And you'd
Same
have
with
to think that
this
it applies with the Night
Ahsoka.
Sisters, where like, are they going to be that predictable? Like, is he going to be really looking to integrate them into his command structure coming back to the galaxy, or is it just going to be, we got you home, we're going to drop you on Dathomir, enjoy resurrecting
Mm.
your people that were loading up into our cargo, and see you later? Or
Maybe
like,
he'll split them up across ships like he did with Jorah Sabayoth and use them to like coordinate attacks. That'd be cool.
yeah, like is Marin and Cal going to be involved in this, and then they can stop the battle meditation?
Yeah, they're in the other realm beyond reaching, not the one there, and the other one.
I mean, Tanalor is more of a kind of a rough ride to get to, not so much impenetrable. Because like the Jedi got there before, then the Nile got there. Like for
Yeah,
all of the talk of it being a safe place, it's only so safe.
yeah. They brute forced it, basically.
Well, the Nile have their alternate means of
Hmm.
navigating with Marta and Martian and the Santekas and all. You never know what's with those heckin' Tekkens.
Shenanigans, just pure shenanigans.
Pure shenanigans. All right.
Yeah.
Anything
Overall, I'm
else?
very excited for episode 8. I think I definitely don't think every plot is going to be wound up. I think we'll see. My prediction is Thrawn on his way back. The good guys probably maybe they jump out of a ship, like they detach a ship in hyperspace or something. But I think they're going to be on their way back too. Ahsoka, she's going to stay. We're going to get a glimpse of whatever her like. I think she's probably going to have one final fight with Balin. He might die, maybe not, but we're going to get some reveal about kind of what's waiting.
Zeb, yay or nay?
No, I don't
No
think so.
Zeb? Okay, we're out
I
on Zeb.
wish.
Ezra makes it home, yay or nay?
Yes.
To lock
Yes.
in here.
Yeah. I mean, you can't not. I don't think.
If Zeb's not making an appearance, any character you want to guess is gonna show up? Any big names that might show up?
Hmm.
Pelion would count for this if you want to stick with Pelion. He's just like a post-credit scene or something.
I do like that idea. I kind of want to be a bit more bold, though.
Ooh. So Pelion and a
My
clone
guess
of
is
Pelion.
Han Solo.
That'd be cool. I don't think anyone's really thought about that.
Yeah,
Like this
they
is
did him
we're
with
getting
Indiana
Alden back
Jones.
in.
So no, I think they do it with Indie Tech.
I hope not.
I kind of hope not too. My thing is, yeah, because I guess that kind of locks them in, doesn't it?
Yeah, I feel like this is where you just put Alden in front of everyone again if you're gonna do a Han cameo.
Hey, Han Solo, good to see you.
Han Solo, what are you doing here?
Sure wish more people would have bought tickets to see your movie, so this would be more obvious. Oh my god, it's the special counsel from Oppenheimer.
I don't think I hope they don't think that like the Han recast was why the movie didn't do stellar. Like I don't think they have that opinion because like Lando was going to get his own show slash movie or still is going to get his own movie.
Mhm.
So it can't just be like a fundamental opposition to that. And like I do think like Billy D. Williams is harder to CGI down to to do an appearance because he's struggling a lot more
Also,
than Harrison Ford.
the casting is also better, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it's kind of like saying Ezra's casting was better than some of the other Rebels ones, where I think it should be looked as more of a case of like Donald Glover and Ezra were like just phenomenal casting compared to everyone else who was like perfectly fine.
Yeah, like Donald Glover is perfect. Like he could be Billy D's son or grandson.
It's the energy he's able to put off in that role that I don't know that many other people are able to match.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I think that's going to do it for our Ahsoka discussions of the week. Next week we should be back with a finale, and then the week after that, Ilkin and I are going to be talking about the High Republic Cataclysm, since we put that one off for a while, and then
I'll try to read it.
You're going to try?
Is it out on audiobook yet? Has it been released?
I don't know if it's out on audiobook.
Has it been actually released yet?
The audiobook?
No, like the actual book.
Yeah. This is the
okay.
second part of Phase 2. It's not the first part of Phase 3, which you and I should do soon.
Yeah, maybe not then, because I don't think I probably won't understand it, will I?
I think you and I should try to do the first book of Phase 3 like as soon as it's released.
Okay. Yeah, I'm down with that.
We can stay on top of those, and we also do need to figure out a return to the New Jedi Order, because we're on Aaron Alston's books.
Mm-hmm.
So that's...
Is that Enemy Lines?
Yeah, it's the ones about Wedge on Borlaeus. On Borlaeus.
Yeah.
So we'll be...
Those are fun ones.
Yeah, so...
I've been reading a lot lately, so...
Yeah, but that's all like actual literature, not Star Wars.
I know. I read The Picture of Dorian Gray, and Kelsey was like, yeah, I read that in high school, you fucking idiot.
What's next, Bridge to Terabithia?
I don't know.
Gonna hit us with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
I never read it before.
What?
I no, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but I could go on a fantastical little adventure, you know?
Okay, so I have read all of the C.S. Lewis, like, Narnia books. I read Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe in school, like the other ones I read on my own. Once you get to, like, The Silver Chair and whatever the final one is, The Last Command, it's, like, I think I read each of them twice, and I'm still not convinced I knew what the fuck was going on in those books.
Mm-hmm.
So it's...
I forgot there was more than one book, honestly. I forgot it was the Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah, there's like 7 of them. There's 3 or 4 that are about the Pevensie kids. There's like a prequel that's about the guy whose house they were staying in that has the wardrobe in it, like the magician's nephew. And then there's one about some kid that like never shows up in any of the other ones, the horse and his boy. And like the Pevensie kids are in the background of that because it's when they're living in Narnia. They're all kings and queens.
Is this fucking Dune or book series for children? Like,
it's yes, but like you see the kids in the background because they're the kings and queens, and then it's like you're following this orphan boy. Then he's gone, and you go back to like the ones with their cousin Eustace, who's taking their place in Narnia. So there's like 2 or 3 with him, but they're shit. And then you have the last one, which is where the rapture happens.
It's called The Last Battle.
The Last Battle, that's same fucking thing. And that's where the God Lion raptures up everyone and fulfills the Christian prophecies of the books. So it gets weird. But
have you ever read the Redwall series? You must have.
I wanted to, but I never did.
Oh man, they were so good. That was like J.R.R. Tolkien for J.R.R. Tolkien for kids.
For mice. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But
I think I watched there was like an animated series that I watched a couple times.
Yeah. Yep. The books were like they'd be like surprisingly gory, like it'd be like very fanciful, like it'd be like 10 pages of like the characters drinking like dandelion wine and like frolicking, and a scroll would get just a fucking arrow through the nose and like just killed, or like shot in the back of the head, or like decapitated.
Yeah, it's okay because they're animals, so it's not. They get rated just fine. It's like in Empire at War, where like they cut the Rancors eating people in Forces of Corruption because it's a censorship issue, is what the comment says in the code. But that's
Mhm.
also when they added in the Ewok bombers, where they just strapped a bomb to the Ewok's chest and sent them out of a bag at people, and that perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, sounds fine to me.
There you go. That's going to be it for this week. We're going to be doing some gaming of some kind over on youtube.com/x2, as well as on twitch.tv/CoreyLoses, where you can join myself, Eck, Charlie, Zach, and I assume Ilkin for fun.
Read Lord Brocktree was one of my favorite Redwall books.
There you go, everyone. There you go.